Bishop should know. Bishop should know. I don't know. Ponlo abajo. More weight on mine will be good.
Yeah, it'll go, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm cheating. I'm going to try two. One will be better than the other.
I know, right? Yeah, that's, I don't know. Hey, Benito. Let me see. What's the slot for the first conference? Mic check.
It's unified in making sure that innocent people don't have to live through hell anymore. And I know we're unified in ensuring that we are going to honor Specialist Bishop Evans, because that man is a hero. And there are many heroes walking among us. We see them. We've met with them all throughout the day. Not all of them are law enforcement. Many of them are ranchers, they're farmers, they're business owners, they're everyday people that their voices have not been heard. And they haven't been heard because people do not show up to Eagle Pass, Texas. But yet here we are. We are unified in that. What I also say is we have solutions. It's one thing to come down here and take a picture and say, rhetoric. Blame the administration for everything that's wrong. We haven't done that. We've listened to others. Our caucus is constantly, we have, and you're going to hear it from the group, we have answers we have solutions to some of these issues. It starts with Title 42. A year ago, Leader McCarthy and others came down to El Paso, and the administration wanted to do away with Title 42 a year ago, and we have fought them. The Republican Party has fought them every inch of the way. Here we are a year later, continuing to fight, and the fight isn't over. What I also say, this is no longer about parties. This is about people. Everybody in this crisis, everybody's world is turned upside down. We've heard from ranchers that their kids, they can't go out and play. They have to carry pistols all when they walk their properties. Their childhoods have been stolen. People's lives have been stolen. This is about bringing everyone together. It starts with keeping Title 42. What you're seeing is Democrats. Democrats are now starting to be on board as well, because this does not stop at a party. I will stop there. Once again, I thank everybody for showing up today. Showing up is how we get to the end of this crisis. And I want to turn it over to Leader McCarthy.
I want to thank Congressman Tony Gonzalez. This is his district, one that he's worked very hard for. This is not our first trip down to the border. We've been coming here for quite some time. We welcome and want to ask the Democrats to join us, actually. But before I begin, I want to say a message to Bishop Evans' grandmother. He was raised by his grandmother. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. But your grandson did not die in vain. He was a National Guard specialist. He was a human being. He risked his own life for a person he did not know because he could not watch that person die. He gave his life. There are reports that the individual he's trying to save may have even been moving drugs. But we want you to know that your grandson is not dying. Today we had a very thorough tour, starting with the border agents. I cannot thank them enough for the job they do. They are pushed to the limits. A former Secretary of Homeland under Obama, Secretary Johnson, says 7,000 people a day coming across your border is unsustainable. That is where we are. 30 days from now, President Biden wants to lift Title 42. Everyone will tell you that that number will more than double, go to 18,000. If it's unsustainable today, what will it look like a month from now? We ask them what their plan will be. No plan is given. We hear Democrats on the other side of the aisle say that we should not lift it. They have the ability to say more than just words. They can vote. You see, in Congress, you have what is called a discharge petition. It only takes 218 members. Doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, a simple majority, to sign a discharge petition to bring a bill to the floor. It's been used many times in different issues. We just need a handful of Democrats to join, to bring the bill up for a vote. So if you believe Title 42 shouldn't be lifted, don't say it in a press release. Say it in an action which can make a difference. President Biden's been in office more than 40 years. The only known time that he's been to the border, on my understanding, is one time when he drove through San Antonio. Before he makes this decision, he should come here. He should look the border agents in the eye and ask them, what is the best decision to make. He should spend the time with the mayors and the ranchers and the city workers that we just had lunch with. I saw a lot of things that were very moving. But I watched a man who was probably 6'5", was a rancher, that has lived here his life 20 miles from the border, break down in tears to talk about the situation. That he told us he and his wife can't leave the lights on to their house at night because people will come. His fear is that people are going to get killed. That's what's happening right now. This is a responsibility of the federal government. I want to tell Governor Abbott thank you. It's a job you shouldn't have to do or a responsibility. But you're bringing the National Guard and others here as a deterrent to try to protect our borders because of what this president's action has done. When we walked through the processing facility, I was shocked. I saw a line of individuals that had just been picked up just a few minutes before, and a line of ICE agents in front of them. I watched them, the ICE agents, with a phone putting around their face. I thought it was facial recognition. I was right about that, but I was wrong with what it was being used for. It was opening up the iPhones that the government was providing. That's the way we are going to track somebody that has entered illegally, by providing a phone and pay for their calls. If President Biden lifts Title 42, what we see today will be much worse. A country without a secure border is not a country. And no longer is it just border cities. Every city in America is a border city. And if you wonder how that can be, just read your newspaper of who's died from fentanyl in the last week. It is the #1 killer of Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. The #1. And where does fentanyl come from? Across this border. And it's reaching every walk of life in America today. And if you wonder if it will get worse, it's coming from 160 different countries. People are coming across this border. And in our last trip, last March, which was when we first discovered, speaking to the agents, that they're now catching people on the terrorist watch list. That day it was from Yemen. And as we first announced in the press conference, the Democrats on the other side, Congressman Gallego, said I was a liar. He sits on armed services. He says he gets intel reports. Well, when he found the truth the next day, he never said I was right, nor did he apologize. Congresswoman Escobar said I must be fibbing with the truth. Well, now they know the truth, and it's not just those two, more than 42. I want them to ask this question. Why is somebody on the terrorist watch list from a country far away entering America? Who are they talking to, and what do they have planned? It's a responsibility to protect all Americans, and that's not happening. And if Title 42 is lifted, it will be much worse. It's not just unsustainable now. It'll be uncontrollable then. And if a Democrat believes it should be lifted, come here and see what's happening before you make that decision. The president owes it to the American people to at least find the truth before he makes a decision. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our conference chair, Elise Stefanik.
Thank you, Leader McCarthy, and thank you to Representative Tony Gonzalez, who works so hard every day on behalf of the communities he represents. You know, when I think back to one of my first conversations with Tony, the #1 issue he talked about that was important to his district is addressing the historic border crisis. We've heard that firsthand from Border Patrol agents. I hear that from Border Patrol agents in my district along the northern border who have been transferred here over and over and over again. But make no mistake, this is not just a crisis in South Texas. This is a United States of America crisis, and it's a crisis as a result of Joe Biden and House Democrats' failed policies. This has gotten worse and worse every single month. It's the worst past year since we've been keeping track of the numbers. And we know it's only going to get significantly worse with Joe Biden's decision to lift Title 42. Today I had the opportunity, as did my colleagues, to tour with our boat Border Patrol. And the two captains of our boat were the ones that recovered the body of Bishop Evans. Think about the emotional turmoil, the emotional anguish that these Border Patrol agents are going through every day, in addition to the National Guard and their families. Our hearts break. House Republicans are unified in securing the border and providing the support we need to our Border Patrol and our communities in South Texas and across the country. I now want to turn it over to the House Republican Policy Chair, Gary Palmer.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Leader McCarthy and Congressman Gonzalez for bringing us to the border. What we're witnessing is both a national tragedy and a human tragedy. I had the opportunity to speak with a few of the members of the National Guard who were part of Specialist Evans' unit, and the emotion is all over their face. They're struggling with this. And as Leader McCarthy said, our thoughts and prayers are with his grandmother. And we're determined that he did not die in vain. We also had the opportunity to talk with some of the ranchers and farmers and city leaders. And at the end of this press conference, you're going to be asking us questions. But you need to go talk to those people. You need to understand the human tragedy that's taking place because we have left our borders open. People cannot live their lives because of it. Their kids cannot grow up the way children should be able to grow up because we've left the border open. The human tragedy goes beyond the number of deaths from fentanyl. It's 105,000, the highest ever recorded, and that's probably underreported by 15 or 20% according to the people I've talked to, because so many families don't want it on the death certificate that their loved one died from an overdose. But we were also told since the first of this year, there's 100,000 gotaways. We don't know who those people are. And I ask, could those be young women that are being brought across the border and trafficked for sex? And the answer is very likely. This is a national security issue because they're known terrorists who've been picked up. We do not know who hasn't been picked up. And I want to remind the Democrats, it only took 19 to carry out September 11th. So I would just like to, again, encourage you to go beyond the typical reporting that you do about a trip to the border and talk to the people out in Texas who are impacted by this, and talk to the people who are doing their job every day to defend this border. With that, I'd like to invite Congressman Michael Guest from Mississippi to the podium.
I'd like to echo the comments of many of my colleagues. Our hearts and our prayers go out to Specialist Evans, someone who died doing what he loved, someone who died protecting his country, someone who died helping others. We must never forget the service of the men and women who wear the uniform, who protect this country each and every day, who fight to see that the rule of law is enforced. I'll tell you, throughout our visit, we have encountered one thing from every person that we've spoken with, that this is the worst they have ever seen the southwest border. Without exception, every man and woman, whether it be those serving in law enforcement or those serving in the community, echoed those remarks. We know that last month there were 221,000 immigrants who were apprehended across our southwest border. We've been told that once Title 42 expires, and it's set to expire in less than 30 days, that number will grow exponentially. The Department of Homeland Security has said as possibly as many as 18,000 immigrants a day will flood into our communities. As we met with community leaders told us two things. One, they said that they felt abandoned, that this administration, that the federal government had abandoned them, and then they gave one very simple plea. Please provide help. To those members we met with today, I want them to know that those pleas do not fall on deaf ears. that myself and my colleagues behind us, and we will take those pleas to Washington, D.C., and that we will fight on their behalf. We will fight on behalf of the men and women who stand behind us, who stand here on this border protecting this great country that we love. At this time, I will turn the podium over to Representative Chip Roy.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Leader McCarthy. Throughout my entire life in public service, I've heard a lot of my Democratic colleagues claim the mantle of compassion. There is nothing compassionate about this. Nothing. Last Friday, a teenage girl who had been raped, prostituted, put into the sex trafficking trade, served as the basis for the arrest of a Mexican national who had been deported 15 times. That happened in San Antonio, Texas. That's a real life. It's a real human being. There are stash houses within miles of here, stash houses in Houston, San Antonio. Human beings being trafficked for profit. And it takes a lot of effort to get the media to come down here and focus on this. The ranchers that we met with this morning, that I've met with dozens of times, that Tony's met with dozens of times, hundreds of times. Where are you guys on a daily basis when their lives are getting turned upside down? Are you asking our Democratic colleagues, like you tend to go stick a microphone in our face, asking us which thing we've done or not done? Have you asked any of our Democratic colleagues why they've not signed a discharge petition to ensure Title 42 enforcement, which we've had filed for a year? We filed it last April. An entire year it's been sitting there. Now we get attention, a month out. But here's the real truth. Title 42 is a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. It's not actual border security. It's important, but it represents the ability to turn people away and actually secure the border. But we've got to actually do the hard work of having a sovereign nation secure a border so that migrants don't get killed. The 700 to 1,000 that are in body trailers. The local officials have to go rent to put bodies in. The ranchers who find dead bodies on their property. The bodies we find in the river on a daily basis that Border Patrol has to go find in the river every day. That's my ask of you in the press. Ask every single member of the House of Representatives on the other side of the aisle why they won't sign a discharge petition to move Title 42, but more importantly, stand up for a secure border. Remember that it was a Democrat, Sylvester Reyes, who helped us build a fence in El Paso 15 years ago that is actually helping the flow there. This should not be a partisan issue to have a sovereign nation. That's what this is about, but it's about the humanity, it's about the people dying from fentanyl poisoning, it's about the people being put in the sex trafficking trade, it's about the ranchers, it's about the people throughout this country getting harmed because this administration, led by the President and Secretary Mayorkas, who I look forward to seeing on Thursday, by the way, in the Judiciary Committee, they won't do their job. And they leave the job to the governor and Texas DPS and our National Guard in Texas. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Ms. Taylor Greene from Georgia.
First, I'd like to thank Congressman Tony Gonzalez for bringing us here, and Leader McCarthy, thank you very much. I'm from Georgia, and this is my first real border trip, and I just want to tell you right now, this isn't about political parties, and it should be nothing about politics. This should be about securing the United States border, respecting our laws, respecting our law enforcement, respecting the families and the businesses that live right here along our border, and then also realizing by the sheer numbers and the facts and the information that we learned today that our president, that the United States elected, he is serving as our president. Well, he is the greatest business partner to the cartels that has ever existed, because everything he's doing along with the Democrats is enriching them by so much money, hundreds of millions of dollars and even more. The human suffering that has happened and is happening and will happen if Title 42 is repealed and lifted, and the amount of people that are expected to come across this border starts coming, this will bring human suffering, death, and crime like we have never seen. And we're already seeing it at numbers and elevated numbers that we've never witnessed before in our lives. Imagine being a mother and you can't let your children go play outside in the yard because there are people that you don't know who they are invading your country, coming across your property, and imagine what they could do to your kids. Imagine being a woman and you're just trying to get your groceries out of your car to carry them in the house, and you are faced with men who don't even belong in your carport, and that's where they are because they invaded our country. Now imagine finding out that your grandson drowned in this river behind us because he went in to save someone's life who is rumored to be smuggling drugs into America. These are the things that shouldn't be happening, but they're happening, and the Democrats are doing nothing about it. Well, here's what's going to happen. House Republicans are committed, and we are all together going to do something about this problem to secure our border, and most of all, protect our country and our families and our businesses, and support our law enforcement, Border Patrol, and give them the resources that they need so that America can be respected again, our laws can be respected again, and we can have a secure nation for every single American, not for just one group or another, but for all of us. Thank you very much. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Representative Diana Harshberger.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Leader McCarthy, for inviting me. You know, I'm not from a border state. I'm from Tennessee. But every state in the union is going to be a border state. I don't know what to say about what I've seen today. It's heartbreaking that a young man lost his life. A grandmother will go home and she won't have a grandson. But it happens every day with these illegal drugs being smuggled across the border. And I don't know of a family that's not been touched at all by someone who's lost a son or a daughter or a mom or a dad because of the illegal use of fentanyl, methamphetamines. The numbers are unreal. You know, the cartels are the biggest national criminal threat to our country, period. And we're allowing this to happen, and our government is becoming the largest human smuggler of the illegal aliens, period. This is a travesty. A sovereign nation has borders. And I want the Border Patrol and all law enforcement in Texas to know that we're going to do whatever we can to help stop this. And it happens in November. We have to stop the bleeding. These people are asking us to help. These ranchers are having it's trespassing. No one's taking charge. They can't get anybody to come out when somebody comes. Women are in their homes being attacked sometimes by illegals. You know, these are stories we heard today. It's unbelievable, and the rest of the country needs to wake up. And they need to see what's happening right here. Del Rio, Eagle Pass, the Rio Grande. The numbers we heard today are staggering. It's unbelievable. And I want them to know that I'll do whatever within my power to help them get the funds they need, to help them with whatever they need to stop this situation. The law is the law, and if you want to change it, you need to legislate it, not executive order it. And the last thing I'll say is lawlessness breeds lawlessness, and that's what we're seeing right here. And our nation can't handle this. With that, I'll turn it over to Representative Blake Moore.
Thank you, Diana. I would like to just first sincerely thank Representative Tony Gonzalez. He's an incredible friend of mine. We're freshmen together. And speak directly to the Texans in the 23rd District. You have somebody in Tony Gonzalez that cares more about this issue than anybody that I know. But he doesn't just show up by bringing numerous groups down here to just walk us through it and show us the reality. We're on the House floor, and I'm asking him questions about this before I go on at town hall in my town, in my district of Utah. Your representative cares deeply about this, and he cares about solutions. And he talked about it today, and he will continue to focus on that. I apologize. He mentioned it's a somber day, and I'd like to just echo the condolences for Specialist Evans and to his grandmother. That didn't need to happen. And we will continue to work and fight so his life is not in vain. You see his fellow guardsmen, his leadership here today, sharing us with us the reality. Look, I appreciate all the cameras and stuff. In my freshman term, I haven't done a lot of this. I haven't spoken a lot to broad media. But what I have done is the point that I want to make. Like I said, I'm in Utah. We're tucked in the Intermountain region of the U.S. It's very, very far from northern, east, west, all the borders of our nation. And what I have done is had countless town halls with my community. And there hasn't been a single town hall, an interaction that I've had, where they haven't asked about this. They haven't asked about the border situation. This is affecting every single community in America. And it's all something we can avoid. And it's reiterated by what we just heard from the general over the Air National Guard here in Texas, was that you have to address the policy. Address the policy. There's policies that work from the previous administration. Address it. Don't let politics guide you. Address the policy. Enforce the Remain in Mexico policy. It's a compassionate program. It will keep border activity to a minimum. Right? We are all for embracing. There's a comprehensive approach to being able to address this, but we have to enforce policy. We have to strengthen our border, and that will allow for us to be able to continue to address a comprehensive approach. And I've heard that from business leaders today, and from individuals that are faced with this dire situation. And I just wanted to emphasize how much we care about this, and we care about making it right. Thank you. I'll introduce next Representative Randy Weber.
Well, thank you, Blake. Buenas tardes, hombres. Me llamo es Randy Weber. Yo espero que toda la gente en Estados Unidos están mirando, pagando atención, ¿me entiendes? Es una día mala, es una día muy triste. Good afternoon, my name's Randy Weber. I hope all American citizens are paying attention. This is a sad day. We're down here on the border. As you know, we lost a guardsman. He gave his life for somebody that he never even knew. He was willing to lay down his life. Bishop Evans was willing to lay down his life for American citizens, but he laid down his life for somebody who didn't have a right to be here. He should be remembered. I hope his grandmother takes solace in that. Jesus said, no greater love has a man than he laid down his life for his fellow man. And Bishop Evans exemplified that. And I want to also echo what our great leader said when he said, thank you, Governor Abbott. I want to say thank you, Texas legislature. I was there in 2009 to 2012 when we put $400 million on the border because the federal government wouldn't do its job. Now it's $3 billion the state legislature is putting on the border. Shouldn't be. Absolutely shouldn't be. Biden bears responsibility for this. I don't see how he sleeps well at night. It's just not our National Guardsman who lost his life. Y'all have seen the stories of infants, of young children, of women that have been raped, sexually abused, young ladies, young girls. Biden bears responsibility. This is his border crisis. I don't see how he sleeps well at night. This is about my 7th or 8th trip here. It's getting worse and worse and worse, and President Biden bears that blame. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to yield back to our great leader.
Thank you, Randy, and to all the members, and especially to Tony. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here covering this story. We need more of that. We need the American public to understand what is happening, but what can happen just 1 month from now. We need your voices to be heard. We need you to join with us. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Independent, or Republican. But in 30 days from now, President Biden could lift Title 42. It will be unsustainable beyond means of what will happen to this nation. We've got to be able to stop that. And then, in 197 days from now, we can secure this border once and for all. We've had it secured before. We can do it again. With that, let me take it up for questions. Yes, ma'am. After all this, that's what you want to ask. Go right ahead. Well, first of all, let me just answer your question since you don't want to talk about the border. The reporter never asked me that question. The reporter came to me the night before he released the book, and my understanding was he was saying that I asked President Trump to resign. No, I never did, and that's what I was answering. If you're asking now, did I tell my members that we're going to ask them if I told any of them that I said to President Trump? The answer is no. Well, I'm glad you asked that question, but what's more important than something that happened 15 months ago on a private conversation with about 4 other people is what's happening here right now. You asked that question on the same day that we found Bishop Evans' body. You asked that question on the same day, in less than a month, just a month from now, that they're going to lift Title 42. You asked that question on the same day I watched a grown man, 6'5", who lived his life here 20 miles away, break down in tears of what has happened. You asked that question on the exact same day when we toured the border agents, when they put the numbers up about the amount of drugs that they have been able to capture. The more than 1 million people that have come across this border. The people that have gotten away. The more than 175 sex traffickers that they had picked up. That was your first question after this. I don't think that's what the American people are asking. I think they want to know about what's going to happen here and how we're going to secure the border. Next question. Yes. Well, what you found is the border was more secure back then. What also you'd say to the American public, your gasoline price wasn't this high. You did not have inflation. You've never witnessed inflation like this for the last 40 years. We were respected around the world. Your streets were safe. Your children were safe going to their schools. The Attorney General was not investigating you if you wanted to go to your school board meeting. So I think the American people want to see a change. But we're not just going to say it, we're going to lay it out where it's going to be a clear contrast. Well, there we'll see a commitment to America, that we will be energy independent again, and your gas price will be lower, so inflation will drop. Your streets will be safe, that we won't be defunding the police and defunding the border agents. No, we will fund them and secure our border. We will hold this administration accountable. That yes, we will find the original location of where COVID came from. We will hold an Attorney General accountable for going after parents and calling them terrorists while he allows people on the terrorist watch list to come into our nation. We'll also find out why and who made the decision to leave Afghanistan and bring 13 new Gold Star families. That's just a few of the things that we will do. We won't just say it, we'll make the commitment to the American public, and in 197 days, they can decide which America they want. Yes?
What do you think is not working about that, or do you think it is working? And then separately, do you think that the governor of Texas is going to upon himself to declare big and more control?
Well, I first want to say thank you, Governor Abbott. What would the border look like if Governor Abbott wouldn't take what he's doing today? And yes, he's putting people directly to the White House so they can see their actions, since the President Biden won't come down and actually see what he's created. It's not the responsibility of these governors. It's the responsibility of the federal government. So what did the federal government change when Biden came in? Biden is now spending money where Governor Abbott and the taxpayers of Texas are spending money to secure the border. Biden is spending hardworking taxpayer money to pay contractors not to build the wall because it's already been built, to not put it up. He's changed from executive orders that have allowed people to come across this border, that we've watched more people, 1 million, breaking every number month after month with no new solution. And then tell the American public in about a month from now he'll lift Title 42, which will simply mean if you are caught coming across the border illegally, you go back to your country. Look, We are a country of immigrants. We bring 1 million new Americans legally to this country every year. We do that more than any other country. We believe in it, but we believe in the legal form of immigration. And if he lifts Title 42, what's going to happen is going to be more deaths, more trafficking, more drugs, and unfortunately, Governor Abbott doesn't have all the legal ramifications, what he can do, but he's doing the very best, and I thank him for it.
Leader McCarthy,
Yes.
How do you compare what you saw last year in El Paso to what you witnessed today on this course?
You know, in El Paso, when we went in March, we watched a new facility that had just been finished, and they thought it would never meet capacity. It met capacity that day. When we walked down and interviewed with the people who had come there, we asked them how long was the trek, more than 17 days. Then we asked them, why did they come? And they said, President Biden told us we could. That's what they believed. I was stunned because what had happened there, what we learned from the border agents, as they picked somebody up, they had to go in the facilities and protect them. And as they protected them and moved them through the processing, no longer were they able to be on the border. They said never before have they watched the cartels earning so much money and moving so many drugs at one time. And you know what? A year later, it's worse. Every single month it got worse. And that was the moment in time, in speaking with those border agents, one told me along the wall, said, it's shocking, for the first time we're catching people on the terrorist watch list. That's when he came down to a press conference just like this after that meeting and said that. And the administration tried to say we were wrong. And now they've been withholding the number as we go forward. I think the American public, I think every member of Congress has a responsibility to protect Americans. And allowing terrorists to come into this country is wrong. Yes, sir.
What do you tell local leaders who have seen one group of lawmakers after another visit the border and say the problem here is only number?
I say thank you, one, for visiting the border. Two, take action. What Congressman Chip Roy told you is, we didn't wait till this month to take action. We have been coming to the border. I think if you talk to the Republican conference, you'll find out almost 80% of our conference has been here more than once. She's saying even higher than that. So we put in a bill. The Democrats are in the majority. They can withhold our plan, and we have a plan to secure the border. We laid it out months ago. But the only action we have is what is called a discharge